Hey everybody, welcome back to the homestead. My name is Kevin and this is my wife Sarah. And in today's video we're going to be setting up all of our equipment for chicken processing. And we thought we'd show you how we set things up, the equipment that we use, and just the overall flow of how we do it when we process our chickens.
We have been working on this method and this process for about 7 years, and we're to the point where we really think we have a good flow. We know where everything should be, and you know, Kevin and I do this process, just the two of us, and I've got it down to a science where we can process about 25 chickens in an afternoon. If we really hustle and need to, we can process 50 in one day.
Right, yeah, if we start early in the morning, it's no problem getting 50 done in a day, but we typically don't do it that way. What we typically do is we do 25 chickens one day,
right.
Then we'll let those rest overnight, we'll bag them the next day, and then we'll do 25 chickens again the following day and bag those. So it's really a 4-day process, which may seem kind of, you know, like it gets dragged out, but it really makes it a much more enjoyable process, and
Absolutely.
You don't feel so overwhelmed by the amount of work going into it. So that's what we do. It just works well for the two of us. Now today's video is not going to be about actually processing the chickens. It's going to be about showing you guys the equipment that we have found or that we have made that works really well for us, so that hopefully it'll help you when you start setting up your homestead, or if you start to replace equipment on your homestead.
Right.
So we're gonna get set up, and we've got everything out but not set up, so we're going to bring you guys along on each station as we set them up. So the first station in the processing is to you know, dispatch the chickens, to kill the chickens. We do that with these cones. I actually made these cones I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years ago already, and they're just made out of galvanized flashing that you would use up on your roof. They've held up really well. I just put some heavy-duty duct tape around the top and the bottom so they're not sharp. And to be honest, it's held up really well for us for the last 5 or 6 years. So we just have 3 of them. Our plucker does really well with 3 chickens at a time, so we have 3 cones. And then I just kind of built this sawhorse to have them up here. The only thing that we do is we put a bucket under each one, and then I'll put about 2 inches of water in each bucket, just so that the blood, so it's easier to clean up at the end.
Right. Now, in our process, what works best for us is that Kevin does the actual killing, the dispatching, and then from there, after they're all bled out, I take them from here, all 3 of them, to the scalder. So this is our scalding station, and this is one of the stations that I run in the process. Our big scalder is actually a tamale pot. We got it in Phoenix when we lived there. It works really well. I do use the lid, and there's a hole in here that we stick a thermometer down in there so that I can monitor the temperature all the time. We set this on top of this turkey fryer base, and there's a burner here, and it hooks up to just a standard propane tank that I light when I need the water to be hotter. And we actually fill this with hot water from the bathtub. We just bring 5-gallon buckets out and fill it up until it's the level that we need it.
It holds about 15 gallons. We just start with hot water because it saves on propane if
Right.
we start with hot water. So
yeah, it works really well for us.
And watch after Thanksgiving if you want to buy one of these fryers. I think we picked this up at Walmart one year for like $10. After Thanksgiving they always put them on clearance, so it's a good time if you're going to need one. Go ahead and watch for those sales right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, this is a perfect size for 3 chickens.
Yep. So after the chickens are scalded, the next step in the process is plucking, and I highly recommend that new homesteaders raise at least 1 batch or several batches of chickens without a plucker. Hand pluck them, and you know, experience that, because that way when you go to buy a plucker, you'll understand that it's worth every penny you're about to spend.
You will definitely appreciate this machine if you've had to do this process by hand.
Right. Well, the first couple of years that we raised chickens, we did them by hand, and I think it was like the 3rd year or maybe the 3rd batch of chickens that we had done. we decided to buy a plucker. And while they are a big investment, if you take care of it, it'll last a really long time.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's no way you could do the amount of chickens that we do in a day without a plucker.
Right. So this station is also my responsibility in this whole process. I really absolutely love it. This plucker holds really easily 3 chickens. You could probably put 4 in there, but I think maximum benefit of this plucking machine is at 3 chickens for us. There are little rubber fingers inside that when you spray water and turn it on, it grabs the feathers and rips them off, and it actually collects them in the bottom and shoots them out the back, out into this chute.
So what we have is a mesh tarp that we lay down on the ground behind this. That way at the end, when we're all done, the feathers are collected on that tarp, but the water has drained out, and we can just, pick up the tarp, go take it back into the woods, get rid of the feathers, and we're all cleaned up for the day. Now this plucker will pluck 3 chickens in about 30 seconds, and that right there is worth its weight in gold.
I actually filmed a video last year just specifically about this plucker and what a great invention it is, and how we use it. So if you're interested, there's more information about that. We'll put a link to that up here.
Yeah, and there's lots of great brands of these. We're not pushing one certain brand. We're just pushing the fact that over time you're going to need a plucker.
Right. The other thing that I use that's very helpful, I need to use a hose, I need to use a source of water. On this style of plucker, there is an inlet here where you can hook a hose and the water will drain down from a tube on the top. I have not found that to be very effective, so I just use a hose with a good on-off spray nozzle. And I like this trigger that you just pull and it shoots water. There's a lot going on at one time here, so to have something really fast and easy to use is really valuable. Not expensive, you just gotta make sure you have what you need.
So the last station is where we actually do the gutting of the chickens, and then we put them in chill tanks until we move them to the refrigerator. This is a setup that I really like. What this is a fish cleaning table that I bought on Amazon quite a few years ago. What I like about it is that it's a nice height. We used to use just folding tables, but they're so short that by the end of the day your back is just killing you. This is taller, so you're standing upright as you're working, which is really nice. I know a lot of people use stainless steel equipment. That's a little out of our price range. But honestly, I like this because the whole surface is like a cutting board, so you don't have to worry, you can cut right on it. Your knives aren't going to get dulled from cutting on it.
So the next piece of equipment that we use in this station is this sink. It's a laundry sink or an outdoor sink or something like that. Works really well. We have the faucet converted to fit a garden hose, and so we can just turn it on and off just like that. We also have created an extra long sprayer hose so that Kevin can spray everything off and it will feed right down into the sink. We have a long tube that hooks up to the drain, and we connect it way out so that all of this moisture, all of this water is going downhill and away from our workspace, so it doesn't create a big muddy mess right at our feet.
Yeah, I've got about a 50-foot hose that runs this away. Actually, what we used to do when we lived in town, we had a septic system that had a clean out, and I would run this right down into the septic tank. Here our tank doesn't really have that easily accessible, so we don't do that, but at our last house, that's what I did. I'd run this straight down into the septic tank, and it worked great.
Right. We'll have a bucket up here for guts, and if we're collecting feet or any of the organs, we'll have that here as well. And then from here, they go into our chill tanks, which right now we're using coolers. Right.
And for our chill tanks, our well water is really cold, especially this time of year. So we just fill these a couple times a day. We'll refresh the water with really cold water, and it doesn't get them down all the way as cold as they need to get, but what it does is it cools them down enough so so that when we put them in the refrigerator doesn't have to work so hard to chill down the chickens the rest of the way.
It really does make a tremendous difference.
Yeah, so we'll fill one of these up as we're processing, and when it's full, then we'll bag those chickens and put them in the fridge. All right, so the last station for us is where we bag our chickens before we put them in the refrigerator. Now, we have a refrigerator that we just recently got. We did a video about it. We'll leave a link up here. The entire thing is refrigerator. There's no freezer on it. We bought that specifically for chilling our meat when we process animals. So for us, we will bag them today, but we won't shrink bag them. We'll just loosely bag them and put them in that fridge for 24 hours. Then we'll shrink bag them after they've rested. We used to, before we had that refrigerator, we would keep them on ice for 24 hours. So if you don't have a refrigerator, you need to do that. Let them rest for a full 24 hours. You want to keep them below 40 degrees.
So there's just two simple pieces of equipment that we use. One's just a folding table that will fold out. So the second piece of equipment that we use in this process is one of Kevin's inventions. When we're bagging our chickens, we want to make sure that as much of the water comes off of the bird from the outside into the inside, so that it's not just filled with water inside the bag. So he developed this stand that we actually just set the chickens on top of and let the water drip out of them.
And then you can slide the bag right over.
Then they're all positioned. You can slide the bag on top of it. It works so well.
You'll see that in action in our processing video.
Right. Well, that's it, you guys. That's our entire setup for processing chickens, which we feel works fantastic for us.
Later this week, you'll be seeing the video of us processing the Cornish cross and a couple of the Freedom Rangers as part of the series that we've been doing, comparing the Cornish cross to the Freedom Rangers and deciding which one is the best meat chicken for us on our homestead.
That is super exciting. You don't want to miss it. So you guys, thanks so much for stopping by today. If you're not a subscriber yet and you love our channel, right now is a perfect time to hit the subscribe button below. Thank you to all of our faithful traditionalists that come back and watch all of our videos 5 days a week. Please share this with all your friends and family. And until next time, thanks so much for stopping by the homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.